evening, everyone, and very warm welcome uh, to the late evening edition, if I may. I know it's getting late, and we have been at it for 2.5 hours. One of the virtues that I learned very early in my life was patience. So this is going to get over soon. So you ought to be a little bit more patient as we go through the last round, I presume, Professor Das, of this evening today. But I want to actually thank Professor Das. I do want to thank IMI, the faculty, for actually inviting me here. And a huge round of congratulations to all of you. Huge round of congratulations to all of you for what you have done over the last 2 years, I suppose. I must say, I actually never went through a convocation myself. And it was only 3 years back that I actually attended one convocation for my daughter. I hope to attend one for my son soon, in about a month's time. And as many of you came to collect your certificates here, it was really heartwarming to see the smiles on your faces. But I was also watching how many of the parents who were in the audience were reacting. I'm sure there was a lot of pride because of what you have achieved. I'm sure there was a certain amount of nervousness because many of us grow up in a very, very cocoon setup, and now we are going to be out in a big bad world, so as to speak. But I'm sure that the most defining thing is their faith in you. Their faith in you to be able to take on the world and create the outcomes that Professor Das said you could create. So, can I actually request all of you who have got your certificates today to maybe stand up and give a big round of applause to all your parents, friends, whoever is there, because without them, you couldn't have achieved what you have achieved. Thank you. Thank you, parents. Thank you. And of course, to all of you. I, of course, never went through a management degree, but I can tell you, and if some of you are aspiring to do a CA or have done a CA already, at least in my days, the scorecard used to be like 3 out of 100 or 4 out of 100. I was told that the year in which I qualified, the score was like 2.5 out of 100, and we were always on pins and needles as to what the score is going to be. So incredible job done. I'm sure there are a lot of late nights. There's a lot of stress that you've all taken to get to this stage. But I'm sure you've also cultivated a lot of friendships. And that is one of the things that I certainly miss, because when you do a CA, you're basically all by yourselves. And I'm sure that doing this and doing it at an institute like IMI, you have created huge amount of friendships, which will go a long way. These friendships go a long way. So friends, let me just talk about a few things. As I said, I will try not to be very long. I'm told, particularly by my family, that when I get the mic, I do talk a lot. So I'm going to try my best to be brief today. And when Professor Das was speaking to me, he said that why don't you speak about your journey? And he said that I'm sure there are stories of resilience and many other things. I do not know many of those words. Those words are pure English to me. And I was just thinking that in a very ordinary story, what is it that I can tell you about? So I just started thinking of some moments which in hindsight, are extraordinary for me. And maybe I'll try and narrate you a few of those. And the acronym that I've set up for us today, which you might want to carry back if you so wish, is growth. Because we are all seeking growth. So the first one is, as you think about your future, is how can we be more genuine? How can we be genuine in the first place, and how can we be more genuine? Now, there are many things which I can talk to you about, but maybe I'll talk about two. The first one, I learned very early in my career, and that's something that's stayed with me right through. Let's not try to be someone that we are not. I've never attempted to be somebody that I'm not. I'm sure that even when it comes to speaking English, my kids speak better English than me, and I recognize that. I appreciate that. Everybody in my organization possibly speaks better English than I do. I've never tried to be someone that I'm not. You know, because the moment you start focusing on your weaknesses too much, you forget your strengths. So I do believe it may be worth your while to figure out how can you just focus on your strengths and not maybe focus on your weaknesses all the time, and be who you are. The second one is, you know, when we talk about being genuine and you're just starting your corporate journeys, many of you will turn entrepreneurs very soon. The entrepreneurship culture is very strong in India at this point in time. You will do many things. You will disrupt, as Professor Das just said. One of the things that I would encourage you to think about is your communication. And in your communication, my ask of you, my request of you would be that be clear and concise. Do not soft pedal any conversation. If you are actually going to have a conversation with your colleague at work and you're going to tell him all is okay, sab chalta hai, it's not going to help you, it's not going to help him. In corporate organizations, I can tell you, certainly in my organization, I do encourage my business leaders to be honest and fair in communications, but also be very clear on what their expectations are from people. Because by not being clear and just saying that, okay, let it go, you know, I'm responsible for 20 people, how can I spend as much time with 20 people? If you can't spend time with 20 people, don't tell them that you can't spend time with 20 people. But don't just let them go by saying that it's okay. Nothing is okay. Okay, the word okay is something that I don't possibly like too much. Okay doesn't mean much, so be genuine and be clear in your communication. It will help you. And by the way, seek that as well. If somebody is saying okay to you, say, what does okay mean? Okay doesn't mean anything. The second one I would talk to you about is maybe relationships. I think Professor Das spoke about it earlier, and I will just talk about, again, two anecdotes maybe I want to share with you. The first one, many years back, it was 2006, the firm actually asked me to move to Mumbai. At that point in time, you know how people in firms like ours grow. I was anticipating to be a partner in the firm, and 1 year before, the firm packed me off to Mumbai, a city in which I had never worked. And I had grown up as a reasonably nerdy kid, if I may, very focused on work, delivering excellent work, but you know, I couldn't go out and talk anywhere outside. You know, I had a fear of speaking at any external forum, leave alone an internal forum. But you know, it was the relationships that I cultivated over the years. They could have been, you know, they could have been personal relationships, they could have been business relationships, they could have been social relationships. All of those relationships that I created and all the goodwill that I created through those relationships made sure that somebody who went from Delhi to Mumbai, 1 year away from partnership, potentially partnership, because I did not know that was going to happen, it was the relationships that I crafted over the years that came to my help. And as it turned out, in less than a year's time, I was, in that year, in my group, the highest billing partner. But it would not have happened because of the relationships that I crafted over the years, including in Delhi. Not because I took them out for drinks, etc. In those days, certainly I was not drinking as much as I might do today. But certainly it was the impact that you had in the discussions and the work that you did for them. You know, the second one I will talk to you about very briefly is, when you talk about relationships, is security of relationships. Many a times you will experience, particularly if you go into the corporate world, or even if, as I said, you start your own entrepreneurial journey, because insecurity is the biggest problem that corporate India at times faces now. You will always want to, you know, beat the hell out of every compete that you have. Many of you will compete with each other, and which is perfectly fine and legitimate. But I would just say that if you claim something, you ought to be secure about something. If you have a relationship with someone, you ought to be secure about it, because if you are not secure about it, then it is not a relationship. It is just an acquaintance. So relationships are important. but they will need to be nurtured and you will need to spend time on it. So that's the R of the growth. The next one, the O, that actually stands for openness. And what do I mean by openness? You know, I've always felt that, you know, we spoke about being curious, being able to learn, and so on and so forth. All those are absolutely great topics. I would just narrate one incident to you in terms of openness. Yes, there was openness to failure, openness to experiment, and so on and so forth. So, and again, I can only talk about my life history so that I'll make it easier and shorter. It was again 2018, 19. Our deals business was doing very, very well. We had done good work on the insolvency side and stuff. And my global mentor at that point in time, a guy called Richard Oldfield, he's now the CEO of Schroders. He spoke to me that, Sanjeev, don't you think that you should put up your hand to be the chairperson for PwC in India? And I said, Richard, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm very happy doing what I do. I meet 20 clients a week. I meet 5 media persons a week, and I love it. Why do I want to do this role which is so administrative? He says, no, I think we need you. I said, well, I mean, there are people who want this role. And PwC India is the only firm amongst the big four in India which has a proper election. All equity partners vote. I'm not in this, in this voting gig. He said, Sanjeev, unless you give up what you have, you will never be challenged. You will never be able to challenge yourself to do something else. And that topic always remained with me. Of course, I came back home, spoke to my wife. She is in the audience right now. Only when she blessed it did I actually move forward. But I must say that that was possibly, in hindsight, one of the better decisions. And apart from, of course, my wife, who was very instrumental in making that decision, it was Richard who encouraged me to make that decision. I'm ever thankful to him. So, what's the W standing for? The W stands for we before me. And why do I talk about the we? Today, you know, we are all going to be, you know, we are going to be HR people, we are going to be financial services people, we are going to be management people, and so on and so forth. I mean, I would actually ask you, when you reflect back on your journeys, what does the word management mean? Management could just mean general management. We all grow up focusing on a vertical. But today, management in its true sense is more horizontal than anything else. And if management is as horizontal as we think it is today, and with all the disruptions that are coming our way, geopolitical, technology, so on and so forth, we can never achieve, at least in my mind, anything individually. A tech person cannot possibly monetize the investment or the IP that he or she creates. A tax person can only do tax, cannot create business outcomes. A technology person, for that matter, if he is trying to do implementation, cannot create business outcomes, because he or she needs to think as to how the world is getting disrupted and how, let's say, you know, how do we plant something like mobility? I mean, you look at people like businesses like Uber, etc. You could have said that there should be transport companies, but today they are not transport companies anymore. There is a huge amount of mobility which goes in them. And I think that requires us to collaborate, work together with other people, and hence I would always say that the we should take precedence over the me. Again, I can only share with you a particular anecdote. Maybe not the anecdote, I'll just share what I learned from that anecdote, and which simply was that anything that I do in a team setup, which is done in good faith, is much, much better than any amount of hard work that we might do in bad faith. And you might want to think about it as you think about your careers ahead. The next one is temperament. The T of growth is temperament. And it's all about attitude. Invariably, I get asked the question that if you're meeting two candidates, will you go for somebody who's more talented, or you'll go with somebody with a better attitude in life? And my answer, I don't even blink an eye and say, I would go for somebody with a better attitude. Is more malleable, We can work with that person. He's open to ideas. Everything that I spoke about just now, all the GROW actually works much, much better with somebody who has a better attitude. Talent, I suppose, in the proportion of 60 to 90, all of us have. I'm sure there are some people who have the 100, but in a proportion of 60 to 90, all of us have talent. It's about the attitude which matters. And one of the biggest things there, and I started talking about that, is the virtue of patience. And I say this because we all can be very impatient, particularly today when everything is available to us on our fingertips. Whether it's the food that we want to eat, whether it's a movie that we want to watch, everything is available to us on our fingertips. I must say that leading the firm, and I've been doing that for about 4.5 years now, has told me to be very patient with people as well. Because you might work at a particular speed. The person besides you may not work at that speed, may not appreciate that speed. And if you go to the T of the teamwork that I just spoke about, can you do all of it together? You will possibly kill yourself and still not get it done. So that's where these virtues will really help if you so wish. The last one, the H of growth, is all about humility. Now, you might say that, we have read it in so many books, etc. What does humility even mean? To me, humility doesn't necessarily mean that you have to think less of yourself. And I want to repeat, humility does not mean that you think less of yourself. What in my definition humility means is you think of yourself less. We are all in transient roles. Whether it is my role, whether it is the role that you have, whether it is the business that you run, anything else, all of those are transient. At times, we think that we are the world. We are for the moment, in the moment, but we can't give us oversized importance. Because if we give ourselves that oversized importance, the virtue of humility goes away, and that takes a knock. Let me also say, I'm not saying for a moment that you should not be confident about yourself. In fact, I don't think confidence and humility are paradoxes. They're certainly not. And I'm sure that our ability to deliver things with confidence will always keep us in good stead. But if we can also be humble about ourselves and be a little bit more inclusive, that will help, and you might want to consider that as you move forward in your careers. So, as I did promise, I will conclude my thoughts, but I will conclude my thoughts with a very personal statement, very, very personal statement. It's up to you what you want to make of it. This statement got made to me by my father on the 1st of August 1991, which is the first day that I joined the firm. I joined the firm back in August 1991. He was a man of few words. And that was possibly the first day, so he decided that he'll drop me to office. And he said on his way, he started talking, he said my name, which he used to fondly call me with, and said that whatever you do, and of course we start in any organization, we start at the bottommost level, right? So I was going to be an articled clerk, as we say in big four firms. And he said, Sanjeev, whatever you do, wherever you go, whatever your designation is, whichever organization that you work for, at that point in time, he did not know that I'll work only for one organization, certainly until now. Think of that as your own. Think of that enterprise as your own. You may have nothing. You may have the ability to influence no one because you're starting at the bottommost level. You may have the ability to influence no one. In fact, I used to remember his words where I used to be asked to move files. I think firms like us have gone better, but in those days, there was a lot of hierarchy in our firms, and I used to have to move files running 5 floors in the Vandana building with no electricity. And I used to say that, why did my father say what he said? But I can tell you, friends, that's kept me in good stead. Even today, if I can do something in 5, I will do it in 3. And as I promised, Professor Das gave me 20 minutes. I hope I've saved him some time. So the frugalness in me remains. All the very best for your careers. Do well, disrupt, and make IMI proud.